In this lecture, I am going to talk about the research on behavior change with respect to the environment and what motivates people to change their behavior. The first question we can ask is, what makes people change their behavior? Many of us think we know, but do we really? If we look at this XKCD comic, I've blocked out what it is the two comic strip characters are saying to each other. If we look at the individual on the bed, we can imagine that that individual is looking at the other one spinning around and possibly wondering what they're doing. Maybe they're dancing. Maybe they've gone nuts. How can the person on the bed understand what it is the person on the floor is doing? Perhaps they could just ask. Now, did you expect that the response would be spinning counterclockwise in an effort to slow time? Probably not. Sometimes people act in ways that we cannot predict. We need systematic ways to measure behavior and its causes. One way to do that is to look at the research, and in this case, thinking about the research on environmental education, and in particular, what causes people to develop environmental literacy. In a well-known study, Zelezny in 1999 reviewed 34 different studies on environmental education and its effect on individuals' action and literacy. They found that the younger the learner in the program, the better, and that as individuals age, habit sometimes keeps them from changing behavior or taking action. In addition, the longer that the individuals are engaged in the program, the better. That incorporating programs into the lives of children in other aspects than just one aspect, such as planting, in this case running or exercising, actually yielded better results in terms of literacy and lifelong environmental concern. Is this what you expected? Probably. But how about this? Zelezny also reported that outside is not always better. Is that surprising? Possibly. Indeed, the outdoors has been found to reduce attention to the material being taught in some cases. So in this way, it would make sense that if certain subject matter, such as mathematics or something that really requires attention to detail, might not be best taught in an environment where there's many distractors. So we see in the Zelezny study that in some cases the outcomes were as we might expect, but in other cases the outcomes were not as what we'd expect. So it's important as we begin to structure programming to encourage individuals to change behavior with respect to the environment or to communicate about the environment, that we systematically look at what the research tells us, or we research things directly to fully understand what it is that makes people change versus relying entirely on our intuition. There was another study in 1999 by Marcinkowski that looked specifically at REB. REB stands for Responsible Environmental Behavior. Marcinkowski looked at 5 areas of responsible environmental behavior. These areas were eco-management, consumer action, persuasion, political action, and legal action. As the character at the bottom says, individuals move things around, they do things, they shop, they talk to others, they vote, and they sue. That is, eco-management is direct action that somebody might take to encourage positive environmental change. Consumer action relates to an individual's buying behavior. Persuasion relates to individuals talking to others. Political action is taken through voting or engaging in the policy-making process. And legal action are lawsuits that are either directly handled or collectively, that is, on behalf of the public through something like the Environmental Protection Agency. So if Marcinkowski wanted to know what people with responsible environmental behavior had in common with others, how would they do so? If we look at these three individuals on the bottom, we can say the individual in blue exhibits positive environmental behaviors. They are high in REB. The individual in red, well, they don't know. And the individual in black, well, they do not exhibit high REB. The way to further study this then would be to ask each type of person, that is, high REB on the right and low REB on the left, and several people about their childhood, about their experiences, what they know, what they value, who their role models were, etc. And then see if any variables do people on the right-hand side have in common versus variables do people on the left-hand side have in common. And that's basically how these studies are done. These are called retrospective studies. They're used quite a bit in medicine. So in Marcinkowski's retrospective study of REB, what he found was that there were 4 to 5 particular categories that people who had high REB had in common when compared to people who had low REB. That is, people who reported high responsible behaviors toward the environment versus those who are reporting low responsible behaviors toward the environment. And these variables can be seen on the screen in front of you: environmental sensitivity, knowledge of how to act, skill in action, perceived locus of control, and then there were other sort of attitudinal or economic variables that also played into this study. This means that individuals who have a high REB in common engage in or have a high level of environmental sensitivity, that they are saying they care about the environment. Sensitivity relates to concern. They have knowledge of how to act. They say, I know what to do. I'm good at doing it. I'm good at taking skill and action. When I do it, I can make a difference. And then again, various attitudinal and economic variables. So what does this mean? It means that a person who exhibits high REB tends to be someone who says, I care a lot about the environment. I know what to do to protect the environment. I'm good at protecting the environment, and when I do something to protect the environment, it matters. Now again, the words environmental sensitivity, knowledge of how to act, skill in action, and perceived locus of control, those are terms that are used in the field to refer to these types of people. It is more important to me that on a quiz or an exam that you be able to discuss that people with high REB care about the environment, they know what to do, they know that they're good at it, and when they do it, something matters. This is an important set of ethics to instill in a person if we're thinking about people who have high REB. So if this environmental sensitivity or care about the environment variable is so important, how do we increase it? So using the same retrospective type of study, Marcinkowski and a colleague looked further into environmental sensitivity and found that these variables were in common with people who expressed high environmental sensitivity. These individuals were likely to say, I had positive experiences when outside. I grew up in a place where I could experience the natural environment regularly. My parents cared about the environment. I spend time outdoors with sports and hobbies. My teachers and the people I looked up to cared about the environment. That is, if we're looking at somebody who cares about the environment, we expect that they are going to say these things, that they had positive experiences, they grew up in a place where they could experience the natural environment, they spend time outdoors, and they have role models in the form of parents and teachers that they could look up to that cared about the environment. It is really important when we think about the design of programs to encourage people to take action towards positive environmental change, that because these people tend to have these things in common, doesn't mean that if we provide these things in common to other people that they will do it, right? We find in these retrospective studies that these kinds of attitudes are correlated with people who have high REB. And we might expect, or we could look into, whether or not developing those kinds of attitudes in other individuals would result in them taking better action toward the environment. And so currently the state of the field of environmental education and communication is one where we're testing the idea that if we know people behave positively towards the environment and they have these things in common, if we engage other people in these things, will they also have in common this positive environmental behavior? So if we take these various elements that I've described and pull it into the Hines model that you will have seen in your homework, there are two elements that we can think about when we're trying to encourage people to behave positively toward the environment. And these are trying to adjust attitudes and providing the opportunities to learn. There are a lot of elements about people that we cannot change as educators and communicators, but two areas that we can really focus on is attitude adjustment through certain experiences, and of course providing opportunities to learn so that people know what to do, they have knowledge of the issues, they have skill in the action. So should they be inclined, should they have the right attitude, they could then take action. Of course, there are always situational factors, external factors in the world that might limit somebody's ability to take responsible environmental action. But if those situational factors are such, and a person has knowledge and skill to take action, then we might expect, should they have the attitude towards doing so, that they would ultimately do so. And so this is what the research has shown us thus far in terms of what we might expect if we're going to promote responsible environmental behavior as an important component of environmental literacy. We're going to talk further about this in class.